Hi guys, welcome to the channel of E-Man Games. Today I'm gonna have a look at Dragonmaids, which are gonna come out soon. I think they actually came out, or coming out tomorrow, I think, Thursday. I already read through all the cards and I have prepared some replays against Orcust right now, which is the most popular deck. Just so you know how the deck functions. I am also gonna give you my opinion on whether the deck is good or not. So yeah, let's get into it. Dragonmaids are basically, they're all dragons. They're based on every attribute has one small Dragonmaid and one big contributing dragon. However, the Dragonmaids, the little ones, are also dragons. So they benefit from all of the dragon synergy out there, which there's a lot out here at the moment, but we're going to talk about that later. So they all share different effects, but like they all have the same kind of pattern on them. Every small Dragonmaid has a effect when it's summoned, and they all have that effect that at the start of the battle phase you can return them back to the hand to summon a big Dragonmaid, either level 7 or 8. From hand or graveyard, obviously preferably graveyard. So, and the big ones all have a discard effect. Some of them even have a quick effect discard effect, but not all of them, sadly. And they all have the same effect. At the end of the battle phase you could return them to the hand to special summon a level 2 or 3 Dragonmaid from your hand. So like start of the battle phase, the small ones go back to hand to summon the big ones from hand or graveyard, and end of the battle phase the big ones go back to hand to summon back the small ones. So first of all, battle phase effects in Yu-Gi-Oh are always complicated because you don't want to be comboing anything in battle phase. Okay, that's the first thing. That's one of the major issues of this deck, is that their effects work in the battle phase where you cannot do any further link summoning and stuff like that. So okay, but okay, what are their effects? So in my opinion, the good ones are actually the small ones, so we're going to start with them. This one is, in my opinion, the best one. When it's normal summoned or special summoned, you target one of the level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monsters except for herself, so all of the other small ones, and you just special summon it. Which is really good because you can also trigger the effect of whichever you return, which is cool. And she summons a level 7 from your hand or graveyard at the start of the battle phase. There's only level 7 and 8 for the big ones, I think. Yeah, 7 and 8. This one's also 7 and this one's 8. So she can summon this or that from your hand or graveyard. And so this one, when it's normal summoned or special summoned, it's Foolish Burial for any Dragonmaid card, which is good because it can also send the fusion spell, because they do have a fusion spell with a graveyard effect and a fusion monster, which is decent. This is add a Dragonmaid monster from your deck to your hand, but you have to send one Dragonmaid monster afterwards from your hand to the graveyard. So if you don't have any Dragonmaid cards in your hand, it'll just be basically a Foolish Burial for a monster only, not the spell card. But if you have a big dragon in your hand that you want to discard, you can search for one of the small ones and then discard the big dragon, which is cool. And this is just normal summon or special summon. You send the top 3 cards to your graveyard from your deck to your graveyard. So kind of decent if you hit something good. The big dragons are all kind of mediocre. This one is by far the best one in my opinion, because his discard effect is a quick effect that you special summon one of your level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monsters from your hand, which is really cool because you can use it in your opponent's end phase going second and like trigger them, because they're all once per turn. They're summon effects obviously, so you can like start your turn with a dragon monster on the board, which is sick, and you get to use the effects more than once, essentially, because you use one in the end phase and then you start your turn, you can use the effect again. That's really cool. The other ones, all of them, I think you would never play if you didn't need them for the effects to return back to hand and stuff like that, because they all kind of suck, to be honest. The fire one is just boost by 2000, which is like reasonable sometimes in grind games where you just end up needing a clutch plus 2000 boost, which is why he's a 2 of in this. It's what I build, it's not a super tested version, but I put 2 of him. At first I thought this guy was amazing, but then I realized he was actually not a quick effect. These 2 are quick effects, this one is not. If it was, I think this deck was quite a bit stronger, because this guy's discard effect is you target a monster in either player's graveyard and shuffle it into the deck. So if this was a quick effect, Dragonmaids would have a really decent, obviously format depending, but right now it would be a really good hand trap that they could search. But sadly I realized it's not a quick effect, so it immediately went down to 1. And then this one is the worst one in my opinion, because it's just discard, target 1 face-up monster on the field, and it cannot activate its effect this turn, which also obviously would be amazing if it was a quick effect, but these 2 are not quick effects, so yeah. So basically, that's it for the Dragonmaid monsters that I put into the deck. There actually are no more other Dragonmaid monsters. So for the spells, there's the fusion spell, which is cool. It's just it fusions any fusion dragon from your extra deck, but there are no other dragons that you can summon in this. I mean, technically you can summon Starving Venom, yeah. But so it basically summons the Dragonmaid fusion. We're going to go into that real quick in a moment, but the good effect of this is if it's in your graveyard, you target 1 Dragonmaid on your board, you bounce it back to your hand, and you get to add back this to your hand as well. So you can foolish it with green and add it back to your hand, which is cool. The fusion monster itself is good. It's not broken in like today's Yu-Gi-Oh standards, but it's a decent card. During the standby phase, you target 1 of your Dragonmaid monsters and special summon 1 Dragonmaid from your hand or graveyard, whose level is 1 higher or lower than that monster's. And then when another face-up dragon monster you control returns to your hand, except during the damage step, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So you get something out of it when you make it on your turn. Like it's decent at breaking boards, because you can like bounce back Dragonmaid to your hand at the start of the battle phase or with the fusion spell, and then pop monsters to make way for an OTK, which is cool. And then if it stays on the board, which that's also something we're going to get to, if it stays on the board, it's really cool because it multiplies your small Dragonmaids in the standby phase. And the small Dragonmaids are actually kind of hard to get over, because as soon as you enter battle phase, right, they'll turn into big dragons from your graveyard and return back to your hand for you to use them on your next turn. So that's kind of cool. So the card is good. One problem that we're going to see when we watch these replays is that it rarely gets to stay on the board, because Dragonmaids itself, in my opinion, or like overall opinion, they're just not strong enough on their own, so the deck just ends up being a dragon combo deck most of the time. However, I think it's not the best dragon deck out there, right? Every dragon deck has these support cards that are in here: the guard dragons, the red eyes, the tempest, the World Legacy guard dragon, the ravine together with Romulus, like all these, the heretic seal, all this kind of stuff is available for any dragon strategy out there, and there's probably a better deck out there for just dragon shenanigans. But yeah, whatever, we're just gonna try and see what the Dragonmaid cards can do. However, I do think that the deck is fun. The kind of the bouncing theme, popping cards while doing that and stuff like that, it's cool. I did enjoy the games in testing where I got to actually do that, but they were very rare. There is one game in the replays that I'm going to show you where I am able to do that, but it's only because my Orcust opponent didn't really have a play. In that game I also actually used this. I thought this was I thought this could summon from your deck as well. I don't think it mattered in that game because I could have summoned from graveyard as well, but in that game I think I summoned from the deck, which may or may not have mattered. We're gonna look at it. I don't think it mattered, but yeah. So for the rest of the deck, I just filled it. It's basically almost all. Oh, this one. Dragonmaid Hospitality is actually a really good card. It special summons a Dragonmaid from your hand or graveyard in defense position, which is already good because Dragon Extender. But then you also send one Dragonmaid monster from your deck to the graveyard with the same attribute but a different level. And this is the reason why we play even one of each of these mediocre ones. Because this way, if we reborn her, we can send him. If we reborn her, we can send him. If we reborn her, we can send him. And these two. So that's why I chose to play this guy over a third of this, for example. Or I think that's why you should play one corresponding to each Dragonmaid, because that way you get a free Foolish Burial for a big dragon that you can use to bounce at the start of the battle phase. The rest of the deck is just Call by the Graves, Super Poly, Dragon Ravine for Realmless, Foolish, Reborn, and Upstart, and then the Legacy card, which is really good in this deck. So let's check out these replays. Let's see which replay is which. Ooh, this one has been going on forever. Let me just reload it. Let's just start with this one. So I'm going first here. Let me see. Should I fast forward? Yeah, let's fast forward. Okay. So I opened with the fusion and 3 Dragonmaids. I decided to fusion summon instantly in order to have the best normal summon possible, which was her, because she reborns, right? So I just wanted to get the other 2 in grave in order to normal summon her and use her effect to reborn instantly. Unfortunately, I get DD Crowed here, and so I'm left at this spot where I can't really do much, right? I can link into Hieratic Seal, which is what I was thinking about at this point, but then I would basically have nothing else. Whereas, keep in mind, I thought that this was summoning from the deck in standby phase at this point, but what I end up doing is I'll just pass here and then summon from the deck with this, but I can just summon from grave as well. It's not a big difference here. I can bounce with the fusion spell, but then I don't have a target for this because you have to target one Dragonmaid you control and then special summon one with level 1 higher or lower than that. So I think I end up just passing. Yeah, I end up passing, and then in standby phase I summon from deck here, this one, which is just send one Dragonmaid card from deck to graveyard. However, if I just if I knew this was summoning from grave only, I would have just summoned this from grave, and this would also been able to search for this and then discard it. So it's the same thing. And so, like I said here, I win because, or I get to play here more because he actually can't play even after Allure and everything. Like, we'll see. Let me fast forward again. So he Greffers, I Ash, and then let me pause. He Greffers, I Ash the Greffer, and he does not go into battle phase, which is very smart of him actually. Because if he enters battle phase here, which is the cool thing about the small guys, if he enters the battle phase, I get to use her effect instantly to bounce to summon this, and then I get to use Hosky's effect to just pop the Greffer. So there's no point in going to battle phase here, so he just passes. Standby phase, I get her effect again. Summoning from deck again, sorry. But even if I don't have any, even if I don't summon here, I win, right? Because here, after you've like snowballed her one turn, like it's just see what happens, right? I bounce with the fusion spell, which allows me to pop a Greffer, and then I just go for the sick plays. And I start at the battle phase, I get to bounce, make this a 27, and even with Gizmek, there's just no way he survives anything of this. So it's kind of cool. However, you gotta keep in mind that even after he allured and had Greffer, with something that he could even special summon Greffer, but he didn't have any darks and had nothing. So would have been interesting to see how easily he could have broken the board if he had something to discard for Greffer when he would have special summoned it with Gizmek, but okay. This one is one of me going second, I think, and this one is also going to be one that I lose because we're going to be realistic here. You're not going to be winning any game, but I think this one was kind of close. So yeah, we're going to fast forward through the Orcust combo because it's very standard. he gave me Bobble, but yeah, okay. So Masquerena. Okay, let's no. He opened Masquerena with Nightmare and Harp Horror Engrave. So standard opening, right? One mathematician or Scrap Recycler does that, or Armageddon, whatever. Nothing special. I feel like any deck that you could consider playable at the moment should be able to at least have a fighting chance against an opening like this, paired with at least one hand trap. If you can't beat that, probably not a good choice right now. I opened pretty well, I think. Again, I opened the fusion spell with 2 Dragonmaids, and then the Dragonmaid that is Wolf Bark, basically, that's special summons on normal summon. And I also have an extender, and I have a Called by the Grave for a possible symbol skeleton into Dingirsu. So we'll just see if I was able to do it. Maybe, obviously, it's definitely possible that I could have done something better somewhere. But yeah, so I end up just making the same play that I did in the last game, going first with the fusion spell, just put 2 in the graveyard and then normal summon the Wolf Bark, which I'm pretty sure that's the best way to go about this. If you know better, feel free to correct me, but I think that's better. And so he gets to summon his symbol skeleton with Harp Horror, and I get to summon this with Nazari. I ended up choosing this because it's a straight up Foolish Burial instead of me just milling 3 here, which I felt like was more random, but yeah. And I end up foolishing, I think, just a big dragon here. Just one of the big Dragonmaids, just in case I want to go battle phase and bounce to pop. Which I think I attempt to go battle phase next, but he's obviously gonna make use of Masquerena. So yeah, uses Masquerena before I can go into battle phase to summon Nightmare Unicorn. And I'm pretty sure he shuffles back my fusion, because that'd be able to pop, yeah. So he shuffles my fusion, and I'm left here with... That's the thing, like, at this point of the game, Dragonmaids, just like any other dragon deck, has to just resort to going into the Guard Dragon combo. The problem is that in order to get here, I have to use more cards than other decks. Like, other decks would just be 1 card Draconad combo, 1 card Oviraptor combo, 1 card whatever, safer, and then a bunch of danger, stuff like that. Basically, other decks, when they arrive at this point, I think they are not as all-in as this deck, but okay. I thought about this for a second here, but I don't think, like, I thought about just going battle phase, trying to bounce to conserve some resources, but I don't think there's a point because he still has the Orcust Nightmare as well. I can prevent the skeleton on Dingirsu, which is cool, which is why I had some hope here. So I just used this to get this. Here I thought about making Almirage, but he actually put he played in the right zone for me to not be able to do nice stuff with Almirage. But since I have the Legacy, I can just do some nice shifting with I can make Romulus and then turn it into LP and then shift the LP. That's the coolest thing about this, that you can go into the Guard Dragon combo so much easier in this deck. So I ended up milling another big dragon, which is cool. And at this point, maybe I could have tried to go for a longer game. The problem with Orcust is a longer game is really hard to do against them. But here, you gotta realize I have 3 cards in my graveyard that can all return to the field like a Zephyros, basically, right? If I enter the battle phase here, 2 of my Dragonmaids can return to the hand and summon these 2, right? And the fusion spell then will return the last one to my hand and return itself to the hand. Which all of that is really cool, because if I do that, I just get a +3 out of nothing, right? The problem is I'm in my battle phase, so I'm not winning that turn because I'm only putting so much damage on the board. So what I end up doing here is I end up going for the Guard Dragon combo, which may or may not be correct. I feel like Orcust puts you on too much pressure to not do that, right? Because he discarded a Harp Horror as well for the Unicorn, which he can't use this turn because he already did, but on the next turn his play is going to be amazing, even if I called by the grave his Dingirso here. When he skeletons it, he's still gonna have, I think, way too much for me. Even if I bounce back all 3 Dragonmaids here to hand, the deck just can't compete with what we have currently, because other decks are just stronger at recurring resources. So I end up going into Romulus, searching Dragon Marine, which is nice. Unfortunately, I don't really have a good discard for it, because I don't want to bounce this for the fusion. So I LP, I shift the LP over, and I use the LP's effect, really hoping that it resolves, because if it does, then I might have a good time. Yeah, he forgot to Phantasme. I let him do it. And then I was just hoping for him to not have a hand trap after Phantasme, and he did not, so I ended up going LP, summon Red MD, and then I turned those 3 into Borrowsword. And at this point I was thinking, is this already game? Because Orcusts are playing a lot of DD Crow right now. As you saw in the other game, I got my first turn crippled by DD Crow. So if I go into Pisty here and target Red MD and he DD Crows, it's terrible. So what I can do is I can enter battle phase, use this, use her to bring back this, bounce herself back to hand, which it would be a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he does have the Nightmare as well for Gizmek, so it would not be game yet. So that's why I was forced to commit to the LP and end up getting DD Crowed, end up having to enter battle phase. But I mean, I kill some stuff, I do some damage, but I end up just scooping afterwards because there's nothing here. So the real unfortunate thing is I played probably like 10 games with this deck so far, and there's not a single game that actually showcases just Dragonmaid stuff on its own. The deck that the replay that came the closest was the one where I ended up where I used this wrong, where I summoned from deck with this, which I think the reason why I still showed it was because, one, I don't think it mattered in that game that I summoned from deck instead of from graveyard, which is why I still would have won. And then second, it was the only match where I actually got to use some Dragonmaid bouncing stuff, right? Some battle phase mechanic. I especially liked how he couldn't enter battle phase with his Dark Grepher, because I would have just bounced and popped and everything. It just showed how annoying the cards can be. The problem with all of that is it's just all a little bit too fair, which is why I ended up just never doing it, right? The ideal thing is you just get a couple of big Dragonmaids in your graveyard and a couple of small ones on your board, which isn't that hard, and then you just go into battle phase, return them all to your hand. You get to pop this multiple times because you can. It's not once per turn. However, I think they all chain to each other. I'm not sure, and this will only pop once if they chain to each other, because it's a when then you can, so this can miss timing. Like if you activate an effect and they chain compose, this will miss timing. But the cards are cool. They're all dragons, which makes them benefit from all the dragon combo cards. But the big problem that I see is that it's just too much, or it's relying too much on resolving the guard dragon stuff, and it's a worse guard dragon deck than other decks that we already have. So my kind of impression of the deck is that it won't be tier 1 or anything, because simply there's better dragon decks out there, and Dragonmaid alone just isn't broken enough. Sadly, because I think it's really cool. It's a fun archetype. It reminds me of like Gladiator Beasts, right? Which was a really cool deck back in the day, but it just can't compete anymore nowadays. Even though with the new support, I'm not gonna get into that. I don't know if that actually matters or not, but so far it doesn't. So yeah, this deck, it can definitely snatch some wins if your opponent doesn't have a hand trap and you get your guard dragon combo, and we timed out. Okay. Good time to end it, probably. Good time to end it. So yeah, try it out. Maybe there's a build that can like surprise anyone, because this was just a pure build, right? I haven't done much work. You may have noticed in the first replay I had Ash in the deck and I cut it for Super Poly because I just wanted something more broken. There's work to be done. The cards are not bad. The concept is really cool, but they seem a little bit too underpowered. But maybe there's someone to prove me wrong about that, because the normal summons, the small ones, are really good. It was just if the bigger ones were better, maybe you could play a pure version of it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I gave you an impression of the deck, at least. So if you play against it at some regional or something, you at least know what they're capable of. At least I hope you're not entering battle phase when they have 4 small Dragonmaids on the board and 4 big dragons in the graveyard. If you take at least that from this video, I'm happy. And let us know which decks you'd like us to talk about, because we plan on making this a regular thing, with just you guys sending us deck lists, deck ideas, replays, or just saying which decks you want us to cover, and we'll be talking about them. Yeah, that's it. Subscribe to E-Man Games channel and follow us on wherever you can. And I'm out. See you.